Hey there everybody, Eric from OUTER LIMITLESS coming at you today with another video. Now in today's video we're going to do a field test on this Spyderco Genzow Hawk. Now in a prior video I took a look at this as a tabletop review and came up with some original concepts. Now ironically at this point Wranglerstar did a recent video on how this was literally the worst axe he had ever tested. Now before everybody gets all crazy on me, hold on, time out. I'm not setting out today to challenge him or to put his words up against the test. Exactly the opposite. In fact, when I was looking at this, some of the things that he was saying I thought was pretty interesting. Now I was wondering when he posted that video if the title was clickbait and it was going to perform extremely well. When you look at this at an initial impression, it does look like it's going to perform extremely well. But after listening to him and what he said on the design elements and the way it actually performed, I actually think he's got some very valid points. Now I'm setting out today to kind of confirm or figure out whether or not there may be a middle ground in there. And if you're interested in seeing a little bit more about what I'm about to get into, do me a favor. Stay tuned. So the first couple of things that Cody talked about on the Wranglerstar channel in his review of this Genzow Hawk is first the fit and finish of the sheath and the sheath system. There's no doubt it's great. For me, I'm going to use it for a couple of different ways. I mean, you get that belt carry, but I have a couple of clips going on here so I can carry it sort of over my shoulder. That's what I'm going to be doing during my testing today. Now, the next thing he mentioned was that the handle was extremely slippery. That is definitely the case. It is undersized and slippery. So if you go back to my prior video, I have already added this wrap to try to address some of that. Now this may not be the permanent solution. I may find that after today I still need to go thicker on this to make it a viable tool, and I'll be curious to see about the shock in the handle. Now let's go back to some of his comments. One of the things that he mentioned was that a good old school hickory handle would be the way to go. Well, that's definitely the case, but I do want to say let's look at Spyderco as a brand. If you look at this handle, before I wrapped it, this had the sort of Spyderco logo all molded into the plastic. I mean, that's the type of handles that a company like Spyderco puts on their products. They put plastic handles. They use FRN and those types of materials. So the fact that they went with a handle like this, I think is just conducive to the look and feel of the typical brand materials. I don't usually see Spyderco using wood. I don't usually see them, I couldn't anticipate them putting wood handles on their tools. So the fact that, they didn't use a hickory handle, I'm not shocked at all. So they had to use polymer, and in that, to make it strong enough, they had to add that aluminum core. But in terms of the shock, I will be very interested to see how it actually feels and performs. Now the head of the axe, this is a Drop Forge 5160, which I think is going to be a great overall steel for this particular type of environment. Now what I didn't pick up on, and let's just get it straight, I mean, Cody has years and years and years of experience. He is far beyond a craftsman and far beyond probably a bushcraft and wilderness expert compared to me. I mean, I'm a weekend warrior. He works with his hands all day, every day, and you see it in all of his videos. So for me to really be able to pick apart the overall grind and shape of the head, I may not personally have the same experience as him. So what I need to do for myself is say, what did I intend on using this for? Why did I buy this? And where do I want to use it? And for me, it fits this niche where it's really in between some other options. Now, Cody did compare this to the Gränsfors outdoor axe. That axe is just a beautiful axe, and it's in a similar size range. The axes that I personally have, I have the Tops Grandpa's axe, which is smaller. I have the Gränsfors Wildlife hatchet, which is smaller. I have the Gränsfors Small Forest Axe, which is larger, and I have the Gränsfors Scandinavian Forest Axe, which is much larger. So for me, this fit a nice size where it could be used in the camping and backpacking application. I really wanted something that was sort of in between an axe and a hatchet. Now, they call this a hawk. So from a hawk perspective, I see this having a little more of that hawk shape, not quite so much an axe. So the fact that it's got sort of that leaning edge on that leading edge there, I'm not too concerned. Now, I think there's a couple of of different ways to approach this. I'm just basically going to use it like I would use my typical axe or hatchet and see how it performs. And then I think I'm going to take a slightly different approach, maybe a little different angle on it, and see if it makes a difference. But at this point, that's pretty much enough talking about this thing. Let's just get to work and see how it performs. Okay, so let's see how this goes. Actually, so first thing, if I go back to Wranglerstar's testing, I need to be maybe a little more authentic. Now, keeping in mind I've already wrapped this, so that sort of kills that already. I mean, that is definitely slick, right? So that was the first thing he was saying. Now, I've added that little bit of grip with that ring down here to help me get some purchase. So I'm gonna use this without the gloves for a minute here. And my initial impression is there is some shock in the handle. Now, so far, I mean, I have barely been wailing on it, and it doesn't bother me too much. You know, I think this seems to be getting decent bite and throwing fairly decent chunks. Now, that feels razor sharp. So, you know, brand new. I've never used it up until now. So my initial impression is, you know, I'm not terribly concerned about that angle just yet. But let's keep testing this and see how it goes. Okay, so continuing to gain some impressions. This definitely does want to spin and roll as I'm working. You know, I find I'm really trying to find that spot where my hand just indexes and holds this nice and tight and firm, and it doesn't roll on me. I haven't quite figured that out just yet. There is this kind of nice spot right here where the handle turns just a little bit, and part of me has that overbuilt, you know, tape and wrap right there. I'm getting a decent grip, and that's a nice balance point for the weight of this. And it's kind of too bad because I got that ring. Kind of almost wish that was right there to help me lock in a little bit more. But let's just keep working it and continue to gain an impression here. All right, so I mean, this did the work. I chopped this down without a ton of effort. I mean, you know, I was going reasonably easy. I wasn't trying to overwork. I was really just trying to gain an impression and see how it felt. Now, I can tell you, I definitely have some fatigue in my hands from holding on to that. You know, I don't know if it's just, you know, my, like, physical condition right now, and just, you know, it's, you know, early morning and I'm not like completely warmed up or what, but at the same time, because of how thin that handle is, you do really need to continually work at holding on to this and indexing it properly. So I think Cody's onto something there. Definitely felt as though the handle thickness was an issue. I didn't have a ton of shock. Not yet anyway. I mean, maybe a little bit. And I don't have another axe with me today just to compare. But so far, I'd say decent performance. I didn't have a problem with that grind angle. I mean, that didn't bother me too much just yet. But the fact is, I can feel in my forearm having a little bit of fatigue there, and definitely in my hand. Just cutting that one log and just, you know, cross-cutting on that one piece. Cody is right. My hand is so fatigued. I mean, I can keep working, but it's gonna suck. You know, after chopping this down and then cutting that one length, I mean, my hand, and I'm wearing a glove now and he wasn't, extremely fatigued. Like, I can feel it in my forearm getting hot and tight. I mean, it's not like a regular axe handle that just wants to index properly. So that's a big issue. You know, I don't think I had quite as much of a big deal with the angle of the head and the attack of that blade nearly as much as I did the handle. That sucks. I really do personally want to like this. And another thing that I do want to mention, actually, and, you know, part of Cody's problem with this was the price. I mean, you know, I'm not sure what he paid. He said close to 200 bucks. You know, I paid $145 for mine, and I got a hell of a deal, which is the only reason why I bought it. And I gravitated naturally towards it because of the look. I really wanted to try this for the backpacking application, and I don't know how much I will really use this thing, which is a shame. But I'm going to keep giving it a go here. So let's put this thing to a little more use. I'm going to wear the gloves. You know, it's a little different from what Cody did. I know he went bare hand. It's freezing out here, and my hands are already fatigued. So I'm going to wear the gloves and keep going at it and continue to build a thought on this. I mean, I don't know. I gotta say, overall, I don't feel like this has all that great of a bite. You know, a couple of these cuts here you can see are fairly deep and clean, but because of the amount of fatigue that I have in such a short amount of time, I mean, my strikes are definitely not as accurate as I would like, which means I'm overworking. In fact, I mean, look at how much distance. I mean, that's like, whatever, 3 full inches almost of cutting width. You know, I'd have liked my V-cut to have been a little tighter there, which would have definitely helped in the overall efficiency. I mean, a couple of real deep cuts, but for the most part, not really. And the amount of bite, I just think is lacking. And that's a combination probably of, you know, that attack angle, as well as the, you know, just the way I have to grip that axe handle, just adds some fatigue and inaccuracy. I'm so fatigued at this point. I mean, I'm trying to like make a peg like Cody was doing, and I'm like having such a hard time holding on to this. Just my arm is so fatigued. It's almost pathetic. I feel weak, like lame and weak. Oh, my cuts are so unclean. I can't hold this any longer. Oh my God. That's it. That's all I can do. I'm done. I just have to finish making this spike and rounding off this end so I can try and drive it into the ground with a hammer end. But my arm is legitimately on fire. It's Cody, you're absolutely right. Oh my God. Alright. I mean, that's not too bad. That at least gets me something. Now I just need to round this off a little bit so I can hammer it down. So, let's see. I mean, frozen ground here. I am so fatigued that I'm definitely struggling to hold on to this now. That curve, again, just very difficult to hold on to. This thing just wants to like twist and spin. You can see how high up I'm choking up on this. And I mean, it's doing it. Now, something that's a subtle detail, right? Instead of me gripping like this whole handle, like you would an actual handle, in order for me to keep it from spinning, I'm doing this weird thing where instead of like a full grip, I'm kind of like half gripping it and then like wrapping my finger to like create this indexing point. And that's what's creating a lot of this fatigue. Like, in order for me to even hold this square so it doesn't spin, I need to modify my grip, and that's causing the problem. So, Cody, Wranglerstar. I gotta say, guys, you know, you always wonder when you see reviews if the people who are doing the reviews are accurate. On this one, 100% yes, absolutely accurate. And I was hoping he was wrong. I was hoping that, you know, hey, maybe I'm, you know, lacking a little of experience, and, you know, I'm a little less crafty and a little less of, you know, a woodsman or a carpenter, and, you know, maybe my experience would be different. Unfortunately, no. It's just this handle is too thin. Now, a couple little differences between what I found and what he found, and I guess now that I'm feeling my hand, I do feel the shock. I wasn't really noticing it at the time, but my hand is tingling, and that is a combination of fatigue from trying to hold on to this crazy thing, but also the shock. The shock didn't bother me nearly as bad as the fatigue from trying to hold on to this handle. That really was the worst. This head definitely did not do the best job in terms of the bite. It just did not have a real deep bite, and that's a shame. One last thing I would like to try, and just to wrap up Cody's thoughts, is on the splitting. So, you know, let's just take some of the logs that I already have, try to split them real quick, and see how that goes. I'm just gonna do my best here. Not the same technique he was using, but I mean, usually I can make this work. Yeah, so I mean, that worked. So I mean, what I was wondering is if I was out in the bush backpacking, camping, and needed to split stuff, would I have the ability to do it with this? And I would say, I mean, I'm just so fatigued right now, but so far the answer is definitely yes. Yeah, and this isn't too bad. I would not split the way he did, just because I'm not that confident in my abilities, and especially while I'm out there, you know, I don't really want to hurt myself. All right, let's try one more of these. Like this. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. So that's kind of nice, actually. I feel like for me, this works actually fairly well. Now, can I get into some carving? And that's fairly comfortable. feels good in the hand for this. Little feathers. Yeah, not the easiest, but once I find that grind angle, I mean, it'll certainly do it. Not perfect, but pretty good. So alright guys, there you have it, a look at the Spyderco Genzow Hawk, comparing it with some thoughts against Cody from Wranglerstar. Mixed bag. I mean, for the most part, I definitely agree this thing needs a lot of work. It's probably not going to be my go-to camp tool. I would love to put this up against that Gransfors Brook Outdoor Axe. I think that would be a wonderful test, and that just shows me that I probably need to keep searching for my ideal backpacking tool. Now, this did do some things fairly well. Overall, did a pretty good job with the hammering. You know, it was allowing me to split okay and do some feathers. So, you know, it has its place, but definitely in general it's a struggle. So alright guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.